Hey everyone! In this episode of A Dungeon About, we talk about the new Amazon Prime show that's been all the rage lately, Fallout. So, as usual, there are some spoilers in our discussion of it. So, if you don't want to be spoiled, maybe skip this one. Although, for this one, I have to say that these are pretty light spoilers. Like, we only really talk about the beginning, and then we talk a bunch about the games. So, like Fallout 1 and 2 and New Vegas and so on. Those might also contain some spoilers, so beware. And then something weird happens where we, in the latter part of this podcast, we just talk a bunch about Westerns. So if you're interested in that discussion and want to hear how Fallout relates to the Western genre, then yeah, stick around for that, I guess. In any case, if, like us, you are deeply interested in cowboy hats and super mutants, then I think you're going to enjoy this episode of A Dungeon About. So you want to get into it? Do you want to get into Fallout? Because that's what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, sure. I don't know how much we know about the
No,
topic,
this is what we will determine right now. But so Fallout's been on everyone's mind, as you know, because there is that Amazon Prime show, right?
Yeah.
That's new and out. And is it like actually finished by now? Like
The first season is done, yes.
Okay. And Vincent, did you watch it? Because you talked to me about this before.
Yes, I did not completely watch it. I
Right. Okay.
watched the first 4 episodes, and then we talked about it, and then I have since, I believe, watched one more.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about what your impression was? I know you said this to me already, but just to refresh my memory.
Yeah, just to refresh your memory.
How did you like it?
The story is about 3 different characters: a ghoul, a member of the Brotherhood of Steel, and a previous vault dweller.
Right.
And the show starts with basically for at least all 3 of them with vast changes.
Right.
The vault dweller is forced out of her vault, and the member of the Brotherhood of Steel is forced out of his Brotherhood of Steel camp, and the ghoul is forced out of his grave, sort of. And I enjoyed it.
I mean, I said this before, I know, but it's like, that's a really cool, like, just D&D party, basically, of adventurers. I do like that setup. It sounds nice.
Yes, and
I guess it depends on the execution.
they do have a lot going for them. What I really like about the show is how they present it. The world they are building, the visuals, the sounds, they are on point. There are so many details. They are all well done. The outfits are great. The characters are really interesting.
So it's high production value.
Yes,
would you say?
even usually these there are a few franchises that have these enormous armors, right? Like the Brotherhood of Steel, T45 and whatever. And similarly, the Warhammer 40K has these Space Marine armors. And they always look a little ridiculous because there are normal-sized humans in them. And these humans are walking on boots that are gaining like 30 centimeters, something like that.
But it's like a Space Marine.
Yeah, but usually the ones that I've seen look always a little ridiculous.
Yeah, because you can still kind of see them in the armor, right? As opposed to
Yeah.
Warhammer Space Marines, which you basically think the armor is the Marine.
Yes.
But there's a tiny human
Exactly.
in it,
And
which
that's the
actually is a
problem.
very large human because of their gene seed, which is so impressive. But compared to the armor, they look small.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the proportions just don't work. And in the Fallout series, they actually managed to make it look good, surprisingly.
It's not ridiculous.
No, I mean, it usually moves rather slow. So it's more like a tank instead of
Right.
Running and jumping human.
Right. So it's more like a realistic exoskeleton might actually work.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it looks really good. They even have multiple shots of it open, right? I don't think the original or the Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas suits work that way. But in
Don Solarione, hello guys.
Hey, welcome to the
Regarding the
show.
Fallout show, although it make no sense, it felt like they managed to capture the spirit of Fallout better than the games.
Okay, wow, interesting take. I was actually looking forward to your take on this, Don Solarian, because I know you also go way back in your experience of RPGs and stuff. And I was gonna ask, I mean, okay, we've established the basics about the show, right? By the way, spoilers, everyone, but you knew that, like about the show. Actually, we might not spoil that much because you haven't watched that far, but you know, there might be spoilers. Are you putting that in the description right now?
No, I'm just searching for an appropriate background image
Oh,
while you're
okay.
talking.
How about Fallout?
Yeah.
Just Google Fallout images. But I was going to ask you, did you play the original games, Vincent?
I did not play 1 and 2 or Fallout Tactics.
Right. Oh, wow. Deep pull. Fallout Tactics. Yeah.
I've seen a little bit of them, but I've mostly I played 3 and New Vegas quite a bit.
Right.
And I've watched some of 4 and 76.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a bit of Fallout out there, and like I myself, I have played one of the old Fallouts, I believe number 1, but not all the way through. And I also have to say, and many people have said this, I know, but they're a bit rough. If you go back and play them now,
Really? Why? Just gameplay wise, or
no, the gameplay is
story-wise?
great. I think the gameplay is pretty good. I think it's mostly the interface. It's just very dated,
okay, yeah.
and it's like super. And like I would say if you go back and play Planescape Torment or whatever, even with the updated resolution and stuff, and that is fixed, that's rough but doable for me. Like that's sort of my limit of what I would be willing to do, and I'm talking like if I could see, right? I used to play that when I could see it, and Planescape I would do, and Fallout is just rougher than that, and just it's a bit too much. They should really just have a nice remade, refurbished version of it. And then the actual gameplay and story, I think, would still hold up. Because it's like, I believe in 1, you're like sent out of the vault, right? The idea of a vault dweller getting kicked out into the real world, kind of like a nun getting kicked out of the monastery, by the way.
You and your nuns.
Yeah,
man,
but
that's...
I'm not, right? You know what I mean, right? It's like this sort of innocence meets the real world in some sense. Someone who has been isolated. That's totally comparable, at least in my mind.
Yeah.
But that's established in Fallout 1, where you get kicked out of the vault, and they kick you out because they have some kind of water purification module that's failed, and they're all going to die unless you find a new one. And nobody wants to go out, but they kind of send you. And then you have like 70 days. There's a time limit in the game, and you have to find that module. And that's this. Like back in the day when I was a kid, nowadays probably slightly less, but that always, like time limits in games always used to give me mad anxiety. Like I could not deal with that stuff. I think there's like a Zelda game that has a constantly running timer in like the top of the screen. It might be Majora's Mask or whatever.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that I
that
had to
sounds
put that down immediately. I cannot handle that, or at least back in the day I couldn't. And that's at least part of the reason why I never played through that game entirely.
I understand.
But there's, that's old school Fallout. It kind of established the whole genre and its tropes and stuff. And then there was eventually Fallout 3. I played that as well. I really liked it. I think back then people said, "Wow, this is kind of the Bethesda take on it." It's not, doesn't feel like quite like authentic Fallout.
Yeah.
Because I can sort of see why they had, some oblivionisms in there. Kind of.
I also heard that the story is just not comparable, and that they changed the factions quite significantly.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I think the Brotherhood of Steel is the main point of contention. Was it you who told me about that? I feel like I'm just quoting you now.
I don't know.
Like when we talked about it last. But I think the idea is that they're not supposed to be like hyper fascists in mech suits, right? In the original Fallout, and sort of in the Bethesda games, they sort of turned them into that. And like, I don't know. I could see why you would want a faction like that in the games. I just feel like New Vegas did it better with the Legion, right?
Yeah.
That's the good version of that. That doesn't abuse the established lore and canon, I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, Fallout 3, I feel like the main story was like that's an oblivionism, right? It's sort of dismissible. It's not very interesting, but that's okay because you're supposed to wander around and stuff. I did feel like that thing that Bethesda does in their games where you like, you leave a sort of dungeon or like isolated environment and then you step outside and there's just this huge vista in front of you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They do that in
Absolutely.
Oblivion. I don't know if they do it in Skyrim. Do you know?
It's not really.
Yeah,
Not to
okay.
that extent.
They don't do it to that extent in Morrowind either, but you at some point you always get this sense of the world really opening up, and it's usually very impressive. And they totally do that very well in Fallout 3. And I remember that. I have the image in my mind, and that fits the franchise very well, I think. And in general, I had fun exploring the wasteland in Fallout 3. And they also had sort of weird goofy shit that I associate with the franchise. Like, you know what I mean? Like the vampire spoilers for Fallout 3, I guess, but the vampires who like drink blood and stuff, but they're just humans who think that they're vampires, and you can do quests for them and get them blood bags and stuff. And like that kind of stuff is fun.
Yeah. And also like really dark at times and surprisingly close to a horror game at times. At least for me as someone
Absolutely,
who
yeah, that's true.
has issues with that.
Yeah, that's true. There are parts in Fallout 3 that are like really creepy. That's true.
Yeah,
And they
definitely.
do that actually really well in a way that I haven't seen in other Bethesda games like that. Right? I remember exploring the tunnels under Washington and like them being full of ghouls and stuff.
Yeah.
And that was creepy, man.
The Metro,
Yeah.
that was.
But I love that stuff.
Yeah, and also because of this pause system they have in the game.
With VATS?
VATS, exactly.
Right.
Where you can, at any time, if somebody shoots at you, you can basically hit pause and
Yeah. Pick
target.
the head to shoot in the head.
Exactly. And you can, it's supposed to help you target specific parts of enemies, but you can also just take a breath. That's good.
I agree, yeah.
And you can find out from where they are shooting at you.
I mean, it fits. Yeah, that was honestly a good solution because the original game is turn-based, right? And you have as much time as you want. But obviously, Fallout 3 is a first-person shooter, which is cool. But then, yeah, it might be too fast-paced, and you might not have a way to take a breather.
Yeah.
And that solved that. And that's also in the show, isn't it? They made that a real thing.
Sort of. Not quite as, I'd say, obvious as they do it in the games.
Right.
But they do have segments, or at least I can think of one segment where there are moments where it definitely feels like a VATS situation.
Right.
Where one of the characters
But
is...
they like mention it. It's like a thing in the fiction.
do they? I don't know.
Or
if they-
it's just visual?
I think it's just visual. I don't know if they
Interesting.
ever actually mention it.
But do they do the thing that they do in, the Doom movie? Do you know what I
The
mean?
first person part?
Yeah, where they
No.
really make it clear that, hey, this is a video game.
No.
It's not
They
that
do
level
not
of...
do that,
Okay.
thankfully.
Because that's a bit corny.
Yeah.
We don't need that. It's okay.
No, it's actually, like, in that regard, it's well made. It
Right.
doesn't feel like a video game, but if you've played the video games, you definitely see a lot of moments where it feels like the history gets
Right.
honored, basically. And little details are everywhere.
So, Vincent, you recently played New Vegas, right?
Yes.
I've played that as well. And it's really sad somehow that you didn't play the original games because the comparison in my mind that I would love to explore is like what's the more canonical Fallout, New Vegas or the old games, Fallout 1 and 2? Because I feel like New Vegas is pretty damn good, right? I would say it's like... I've said good things about 3. I liked it, but I think New Vegas is better in a variety of ways.
Yeah.
And it also has a different tone, right? It's a bit more wacky. You can have that feed that gives you like what's it called, like Wild Wasteland or whatever, where you just get random shit.
Yeah.
That's slightly
actually,
wacky.
I don't know. I can't really talk about that because I played in the modded version, which tried to honor the original.
Right.
But I believe the version that I created added quite a bit of cut content back into the game. So my wild West New Vegas version was quite a bit wilder than it normally would have been.
But that kind of thing is like very important to me when it comes to the Fallout franchise. I don't know. I remember playing the original game, and you quickly learn that in the Fallout post-apocalypse, the currency you use to like pay for stuff is no longer coins but bottle caps.
Yeah.
Right? Because
For no real reason.
no, but it fits this. That's the thing, right? It's this goofy post-apocalypse, this goofy
and
take on it.
Everything is sort of scrap metal. So,
Yes.
it makes sense that that's also the currency.
And it's okay. Sometimes that also is a bit weird and breaks my immersion. And actually, New Vegas did this, but it's sort of forgivable. But just this idea, in New Vegas, you start out in this rundown, broken town. It's just this small village where just a couple people live, and all the houses are like blown out, and they have little holes in the ceiling, and everything's just shit. And then you learn that the apocalypse, like the actual nuclear holocaust, was about 200 years ago. And it's like, really, guys? Over several generations of humans who have apparently survived, like in 200 years, nobody thought to like clear the debris, maybe fix the roof.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like if you had said, okay, the apocalypse was 20 years ago, I'd buy it. That's the thing, right? But yeah, they couldn't do that for other reasons and stuff. It's just
The problem I have with that is that it's not absolutely clear in my mind how apocalyptic the apocalypse really was. Like we knew there were nuclear bombs dropped.
yeah.
But how uninhabitable was the world, and for how long? Maybe it is the case that the apocalypse was 200 years ago, but for the last 150 years, there wasn't really life going on. But obviously, then the question is, okay, where do these people come
That's
from?
the thing, right? It's they live somehow, and like then you learn there are other communities. It's just like it's a bit nitpicky. It's forgivable. It's fine. The game is great overall. And here's the thing I was gonna get at with the Wild Wasteland. The emblematic thing, the example for that for me is how in the first game I learned, okay, you pay with ball caps, and then you walk around the world and stuff. And you occasionally get random events, right? And one of the events is just a sort of crashed Coca-Cola truck where you just then get loaded with tons of bottle caps, and you're rich from that point on. And it's just that kind of stuff, that I associate with Fallout.
Yeah, absolutely.
I enjoy that a great deal. And New Vegas had some of that, and, I like that. So... yeah, I don't even know. To me, I couldn't tell which one I liked more. And
three or
no,
Vegas?
New Vegas or the old ones.
Yeah, okay.
And 3 would definitely be in the third place then. And then there's also, of course, I don't know if you've played this, Fallout 76.
No, I am.
Yeah, which is infamous, one might say.
Yeah.
For why do people hate it exactly? Is it because like microtransaction stuff and so on? I know the launch was difficult.
Yeah,
And, like,
for
buggy and shit.
a lot of reasons. I can tell you that it had server issues.
Right.
Lots of server issues, lots of bugs. It had microtransactions, and on top of that, systems that encouraged you to use these microtransactions.
Right.
For example, the inventory was severely limited, and you were supposed to build bases,
Right.
but you didn't have really the inventory space for that. And I think they fixed that within like 2 months, at least to some degree.
Right.
But it was just a whole mess.
I kind of loved hearing about it though, because I do remember this one story that apparently early on in the release it was quite easy to like cheat.
Oh yeah.
And then you may know the story, but
in a vast number of ways.
I'm going to tell it now
Yeah.
because it's awesome. And I learned this from an internet historian video about Fallout 76, which I recommend. Go watch that. It's hilarious. But the high point of it was that there was rampant cheating going on, including sort of teleporting yourself into a, quote, developer room somewhere in the world geometry where you had access to all weapons in the game and all that kind of stuff. And then they couldn't quite get a handle on it. So I believe the community management team concocted this plan where they sort of, if you cheated, you got banned, but to get unbanned, because too many people got banned. Like it wasn't, that was, they couldn't do that. But then to get unbanned, you had to write a sort of 500-word essay about why cheating is bad and why you're not going to cheat again. And I just think it's adorable. That's the most amazing thing ever.
Yes.
Because it's so, like, yeah, I don't know. How would you even explain to someone that that's not a great idea?
Don Solarione, in my mind New Vegas is similar to Fallout 2 in terms of humor. There was quite a lot of wacky stuff in Fallout 2, like finding Bridge Guardian from the Monty Python becoming a porn star, or finding millions of copies of horrible game called E.T. can feel its influence in New Vegas and in the show.
Thank you, Don Solarian. That's exactly the kinds of examples that I was trying to conjure up. And I agree, yeah. And that is what I want from this franchise, right? Because post-apocalypse can be kind of depressing.
Yes,
and Fallout games
definitely.
are not depressing, is the thing, right?
Well, I feel like
Well, 3 maybe.
they strike a good balance between having depressing moments and
Yeah.
having ridiculous moments. And on average, it averages out to not depressing.
Yeah, I agree, actually. No, I mean, yeah, you do want that serious stuff as well. Otherwise,
yeah.
it's not Fallout. New Vegas, as I said, that's one of my favorite things, like the Legion and like the fascists and stuff. And when you meet them and they just crucify the whole town, and then you meet their leader, Caesar or whatever, and he's like really evil and you hate him and stuff, and you're scared of him. That all really works for me, and I also need that in a Fallout game.
But he's also really effective at what he does.
He is,
And he
yeah, yeah.
provides security, but he also enslaves
Don
people.
Solarione, for all Fallout games main story is depressing, side quests are pure clowning.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I agree. And I mean, okay, that's a whole different discussion about how New Vegas is just really well written. Like even if that was like a novel or whatever, just the central tension of like, what would you say? Like this idea. Okay, I would say it's about this central question of how to rebuild civilization after the fall, right? And the one party says, okay, like we have democracy, we have human rights, and all the stuff that we like, and then there's the problem that is slightly ineffective in a sort of broken world. And you have the other faction that says, no, we need fascism and order and like authority, and even if it's cruel and stuff, that's just how civilization reached democracy and stuff in the first place. And it's a transitional phase that you have to go through. And
But even then, it's New Vegas. That's something that I would expect out of a Fallout 3 as a storyline, because New Vegas doesn't stop there. Because there are loads of other options you can take along the way that modify that outcome.
Sure.
So maybe there is, you pick Caesar's Legion, but you don't give them all the powers, and you retain the power of New Vegas, for example.
yeah, it has lots of nuance, right? That's what I mean. It's well written. Like there's like you have these two positions, but they're kind of not reducible. Like there's no clear answer to it, right? And you can like play the game to explore this question, and that's cool. And it's honestly kind of a little bit beyond what I usually would expect from Bethesda writing.
Yeah,
It's just how it is.
Not Bethesda writing, though, right?
Yeah, and by the way, this is hilarious. I recommend everyone to check this out. Chris Avalon's Twitter account is hilarious right now.
Okay.
Because Chris Avalon, of course, writer behind Planescape Torment and the Fallout games, as well as many other cool things. And I think he's been watching the show, and he has opinions on it, I guess, is all I want to say.
Okay.
And I will not repeat what he says here. I'm just saying it's interesting to follow him and to see what, how he analyzes that stuff. And I think he's, like, for instance, the Brotherhood of Steel stuff and so on, he's not too happy about that, I think. I hope I'm not misquoting him.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's just interesting. But he does a good job, right? You like the ghoul performance?
He seems to play a lot of cowboy characters.
That
and
fits Fallout as
Western
well.
movies. Yes, because in the Fallout series, he plays a character that used to be a Western actor. And now
Next level, yeah.
Now he's a ghoul
Yeah.
who still sort of dresses like a cowboy.
But like, I mean, Vincent, by the way, is somewhat of a connoisseur of westerns, right?
I've seen a few, yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't disagree with what I
No.
just said, right? And that's sort of interesting, would you agree that Fallout borrows a lot from the Western genre in the sense of,
Oh, yeah.
this is a lawless space in which a hero arrives to set things right and make order. That is often a thing in Fallout, right?
Yeah.
And that is the thing of the Western.
Yes. And also, like, the whole basis of the Western culture is there are no laws and everybody has
Yeah.
guns. And that's kind of also the thing for Fallout. And there are
Yeah.
like little enclaves of laws, like New Vegas, where they have the Securitorants that kill you if you break the law. But basically, Fallout is lawless. You know,
Yeah,
it's very
it is.
Western-like.
I
yeah.
guess I never made that connection, but it's yeah.
And also, the wasteland.
Don
and-
Solarione, the main heroes of the show are basically the good, the bad, and the ugly.
It's true.
Huh.
Oh my god, is that? Does that really
Yes.
fit, Vincent? I guess you haven't seen the whole show, but
I
like,
mean-
who's Blondie? The power armor guy?
The good is definitely, so far at least, the Vault Dweller.
Ah,
She-
okay, that
she's
makes sense.
Quite naive and
Yeah,
positive, and very what's the
competent.
no the a paragon character. If
Right.
I may
She's
borrow
a
from
paragon of virtue.
Mass Effect. Yes, she frees everybody and is always looking for the good in people and stuff like that. And then the member of the Brotherhood of Steel. I can't like.
Is he the Angel Eyes, the bad guy?
No, I would say the bad guy is the ghoul,
Ah, that makes sense.
and
okay.
the ugly. I
Is
don't
he the
know.
Tuco? That was his name, right? Tuco was
Yeah,
the,
very good.
I guess ugly. That's, by the way, a fantastic movie. The Good, the Bad, the Ugly.
Yes, I agree.
With a
And-
fantastic soundtrack as well.
yeah.
Just
The oth-
everything about that movie is amazing.
I also like the other two.
Yeah, I haven't watched those. I believe it. It's just the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is the only one I've seen of the. How's that trilogy called?
Oh, damn. There's
But-
a fistful of dollars.
Right.
A fistful of dollars more, something like that, or for a handful more. And it's named after the main character who doesn't have a name.
No,
I
isn't
think.
he called Blondie?
Yeah, and the third one. But the thing is, it's not quite clear if it's the same character. There are
Right.
some hints towards that, and some hints it's not. Quite
Sure.
there. But I don't.
Yeah, it's okay. It's just the Clint Eastwood
Is it just
Western
the
trilogy.
dollar trilogy? That might be it. But I don't know.
It's okay. But they're all good, I believe it. Although I've only seen the last one, I guess.
Yeah.
And it feels a lot like Fallout. If you just put some ball caps and like droids in there and power armor, it's basically Fallout,
Basically, yes.
right?
That's. I mean, the first one is basically a Fallout side quest. You have like two competing characters that want control over a city. There you go.
Yeah. Why do you like? I keep noticing this, even though I feel kind of dumb because it takes me so long to notice that something is a Western. But at some point, I also had the realization about Firefly that's basically just a Western
Yeah.
in like a lot of ways, right? And this is why I feel stupid because they even make it completely obvious in the show. This is not a secret, right? Because they have like they wear dusters and stuff, like
Totally.
people who herd
I mean-
cattle. They literally herd cattle on the show.
Yeah.
On a spaceship.
Uh-huh.
They have like these guns that are like really weirdly
Yeah.
old but shoot lasers.
Yeah.
And then, there's some
Malcolm
stuff.
Reynolds has a
Yes.
gun belt for his revolver,
I know.
his laser revolver, which makes no sense. But
Yeah. And for this stuff, I had to work a little bit more, this realization. And then I really understood that it's a Western. It's the idea that the reavers in that universe, right? Those unhinged psychotic people. I mean, it's a bit weird, but I believe that they are a metaphor for Indians, right? Like Native Americans.
Oh.
Right in the I know it's a bit dicey, but like in the
Yes.
at least in the way that the settlers slash colonizers of the Americans, as they pushed more towards the West, that is how they would have in some cases perceived or represented the Native Americans, right, as like savages in quotes.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, I
and
can
like
see
as a
that.
danger and so on, and that is sort of unpredictable and chaotic and stuff. And it's I think that Joss Whedon was like using the same emotional inventory that is present in most westerns and stuff, right?
Yeah. And I really think that just
And I love it. I mean, I love Firefly.
it's really interesting the amount of things that are influenced by westerns and the
That was my point, Vincent. Yeah.
yeah. And I talked to you last time I was here about westerns and their change over the years from the really clean westerns of the 50s to the dirty
Yeah.
Italian westerns in the 60s.
Do you know why that happened?
Not
Like,
exactly.
did people just get tired of it? Of the clean, here's the hero protagonist Western? Because Blondie is a much more nuanced protagonist. When you watch Good, Bad, Ugly, like he's
Yes.
clearly the good guy, but also he's kind of not a good dude. Like he, goes
yeah.
around and he, like, right, that's what he does. He hangs Tuco, and then like he turns Tuco. He keeps turning him into the sheriff who is about to hang him, and then he like frees Tuco and rides off with him to do it again and make money that way. And it's kind of not a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
But that's a bit more nuanced on a more nuanced take on a protagonist.
I'm not sure why exactly it happens. Happened. I wonder if it was just a general shift because I know that
like Hollywood changed, right?
yeah, and I don't know. Do you know when a Streetcar Named Desire came out?
No, but that's a book as well, right? Is there a
Might be,
movie?
yeah, it was Marlon Brando film.
Ah, yeah.
And from what I've read, because I wasn't alive at the time, that really changed the way that actors approached acting.
Yes, Vincent is not actually 80 years old.
No, I know
Hot
I
take.
look like. Yeah.
How did that change how actors acted?
Because before that, actors acted in a very
Sort of stilted way.
stilted way, exactly. Like similar
Right.
to the radio announcers with the Atlantic accent.
And now we're going to move on to the weather.
Exactly. So it was very clear that these were not real people; they were
Yeah, yeah.
acting, and you were watching them act a scene. And Marlon Brando in The Streetcar Named Desire changed that because he interacted in a realistic and natural way.
Right.
And I again, I'm not sure when exactly that came out, but I've watched like one or two westerns from the 50s,
Yeah.
and then an Italo western, and the difference is just night and day because suddenly people seem real.
Which is kind of what you want, right?
Well,
It
apparently,
sounds more attractive to me.
yes, because I watched a lot of Italo western.
Yeah.
I watched maybe two of the 50s western because I just couldn't get into it. I
Yeah.
wasn't invested at all.
It seems fake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was like this huge surge of westerns, and they did a lot in the 60s with Django, the first one.
And then eventually people just got tired of westerns, right? In the 80s, that was not the time for the western. They
well,
just made Die Hard movies and Alien and stuff.
I'm not sure about the 80s, actually. I know that in the 70s, there were the comedic westerns with Terence
Oh,
Hill.
okay. So is the 60s the epoch for Italo westerns? Because I thought
Yes.
so in my mind there is, and I don't really know much about this, but in my mind there is a definite shift in Hollywood towards the more darker and naturalistic happening in the 70s. And the main reason I claim that, like my source for this is that one. That's a Tarantino movie, right? With DiCaprio and Brad Pitt. What was it called? When they
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Because as I understand, that movie is about that shift in Hollywood, and they, by the way, also play Western actors, right? And they're yeah, the whole place is going going a bit like Hollywood is becoming darker and more shitty and more gritty and more realistic.
sense.
And there's also like I mean, that's a cool movie for another podcast to talk about. I guess it's too big of a topic because it's about Charles Manson, and like Tarantino does this whole thing he does where he reimagines like a version of history where you could take revenge on bad people, right? Like with like the Inglourious Bastards and so on.
Yeah.
And Django and so on, and they take revenge on Manson and stuff. And it's a but I believe what he's also saying with that is that that was the point, I guess, the whole Charles Manson murders, where things took a bad turn towards the like a much more darker period for Hollywood, and that was throughout the 70s, I guess. And then I don't know. I'm not a historian of Hollywood. I don't know how it then changed in the 80s and stuff.
That's interesting because I believe the change for the westerns came in 71,
Right.
with either they called him Nobody or his name was Nobody, something like that, which was sort of the change of the guard between because that has Terence Hill as Nobody.
Oh, those movies like with Terence Hill and Bud Spencer.
Yes, but that one only has Terence Hill.
Right.
And it was the beginning of that era. And it also has one of the really famous Western actors who's is it Henry Fonda?
That's a name I know, but I couldn't tell you if he did
I hope
Westerns.
that's correct.
Yeah.
He was in I only know the German title. Spiel mir das Lied vom Tod.
Oh.
But
that's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
is it?
Yeah, weirdly, that has a German title that has nothing to do with the literal translation.
Wait. Is
I'm
it
pretty
really?
sure, yeah. And everyone, that is in English, the literal translation of the German title is Play Me the Song of Death.
Englischer Titel Once Upon a Time in the West.
Oh, that's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly?
I don't think
Wait,
so.
but I'm getting confused. My brain can't handle this code switching.
So, Spiel mir das Lied vom Tod is not part of the trilogy.
So what is the English title of Spiel mir das Lied vom Tod?
The English title is Once Upon a Time in the
Oh,
West.
okay. Then I was wrong. It's not Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
And it is with Henry Fonda and
Right.
Charles Bronson.
Okay, but hilariously, it still holds that the title is extremely switched.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Henry Fonda. I'm
Henry
sorry,
Fonda-
I derailed
Fonda
the conversation.
Was a Western star. Once Upon a Time in the West is actually a surprising change in pace because that is the first and maybe only one where he played the villain.
Right.
He usually played the good guys.
Oh, yeah.
And it is also, by the way, the Once Upon a Time in the West is also by Sergio Leone, who did the trilogy.
Yeah.
And yeah, they called him Nobody is with Henry Fonda as an aging Western hero in the movie, not only in real life, but also in the movie. And
Right.
Terence Hill plays Nobody, who is a Western hero, but also a fan of Henry Fonda's character.
Right.
And who tries to set him up to have like one epic large shootout to finish it all off. And that is sort of the moment that they switched the Italo westerns
Yeah.
to the comedic Terence Hill and Bud Spencer westerns. And that was, I believe, in 71.
Interesting.
And
Because it also feels like, the Henry Fonda and Terence Hill are metaphorical stand-ins for like the old guard
Mm-hmm.
of directors, where they literally get shot by the new guys who are literally nobody yet,
Yes.
right? And they make a name for themselves
You
in
got it,
Hollywood.
yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
very meta of them.
And they also, I believe they already have these moments where Terence Hill, as the only character, or nobody as the only character in the movie, does things that are physically not really possible. Like just,
Oh, that's like slapstick comedy then,
Yeah,
right? That's the whole Bud Spencer
but
thing.
it's like a tiny bit.
Right.
Like there are moments in there where he acts, or where they speed up his drawing of the gun and stuff
Oh,
like
nice.
that. But it's subtle compared to the later movies.
You know what's a Western that also came later in the 70s?
What?
Star Wars.
Yes.
Right? Also a Western.
The two movies I was thinking of, as you mentioned, the
Yeah.
dark Hollywood, were Alien, which is 70s.
Yeah, that's late in the 70s. Yeah, yeah.
Well, sort of in the middle, right? Isn't it 76?
Well, latter half.
Yeah, okay. And then Star Wars, of course, at the very end.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I mean, though, to be fair, I guess not everything is a Western, right? Alien is not a Western. Alien
yes. Yeah,
is.
that was an example of a darker Hollywood. Because,
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, yeah. I'm just trying to sort this out in my mind.
Yeah.
Because here's my question, Winston. Why is it we've established that everything is a Western? Why is it that that genre has such a timeless appeal? Why does that keep popping up? Why do people not get tired of this idea of like a lawless land where someone establishes order? I guess
think
that's yeah.
there is a multitude of reasons,
Yeah.
I think. For one, because it's an action movie, and action movies are just fun and easy, just like superheroes movies. Just
Those are different though. Like those are not westerns. Sorry, just again,
Yeah.
it's just my brain making sense.
you
of
are
things.
correct. No, I'm saying
Yeah.
like there have been superhero movies in the 90s and in the 2000s and in the 2010s and 20s, and they don't seem.
I
to
wish
be,
they would take a break for a while. Sorry.
Yes, at least some of them maybe. But yeah, it's easy action, and I think people enjoy that.
It's true, but that's sort of not enough as a reason because
Yeah,
then
but
why
I have more.
specifically?
Marius?
Yeah, please go on. Convince me.
Secondly, I think it's just the fascination with the West, or the Wild West, is pretty strong in America. Specifically, I mean, a lot of these movies are made in Hollywood,
Yeah.
and that's
You mean
sort
like-
of pretty close to the Wild West.
You mean the actual geographical location?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true, but that doesn't hold for the stuff where it's like more of a metaphorical Western, like Star Wars or whatever. Which and though you are correct that even in Firefly, even in Fallout and stuff, it's still that sort of Deadland look, right? That people are going for, and I do agree. There's some kind of appeal to that somehow. Maybe that's just Americans, but I like it too. Is it just because I grew up with this shit and
Maybe,
I've absorbed it through osmosis? I don't know.
Possibly. Also, regarding osmosis, there's so much Western stuff. Like I know I've read books about people existing in like 1880 and traveling
Right.
and working in that period of time. I've read, I don't even know what you would call them, like Schundromane, like just
Lecita.
yes, basically.
I think this is a uniquely German thing. Yeah.
Possible, yes.
Yeah. Those were so bad.
Yeah. Just
But also kind of
50 pages
Yeah.
of action and sexism.
yeah. You literally designed to be read on the toilet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Fantastic. Yeah.
But I read I grew up with Lucky Luke. I
Yeah,
remember that now.
totally.
Those are, I believe, French comics, similar to the Asterix comics, and they're amazing. They're really good.
Yeah.
Probably also sexist, but oh well.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Probably actually not sexist. At least I don't remember them being like offensive in some way. But that
No.
just might be just be me. I don't know.
Yeah. I wonder if we would go back and read them, they might have some issues. But then again,
Yeah,
they-
lots of
they're
things
also-
do. Yeah. Like Star Wars.
They have been written a while ago, so
Yeah.
just give them a rest.
But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of Western culture, and you get indoctrinated very early on.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also, I think the last point is that they have been changing. So
But not in their core, not the core thing of there's the lawless land and the hero needs to impose order on it.
that is true, but the view on that that the audience has transformed. I think.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Like with the shift in Hollywood, right?
Yeah, because the
Yeah.
last Western I haven't mentioned yet is the what is it called, the revisionist Western, I believe, where the characters are actually self-critical, and it deals much more with the realistic consequences of a lawless land
Yeah.
and the guilt that the heroes feel for shooting a lot of people possibly.
That sounds more like a sort of character piece that's very introspective.
Yeah.
Do you have an example for a Western like that?
I mean, the one that I watched recently was, I think, Unforgiven. I mean,
I think you talked about that, like off stream.
yes, there was.
Yeah.
Okay. Man, it's just always giving me the German Wikipedia.
Yeah, it does that for me too. I hate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
God damn you, Google.
Unforgiven is made by and with Clint Eastwood, and it was,
Right.
per his own words, his last Western. So it's made in the 90s, 92.
Yeah.
And in that case, he plays an older hero, sort of, that is not really a hero. He goes out to does something heroic, but more because he needs the money, because his
Right.
farm is failing, and really throughout the entire, I don't know, 2.5 hours of the movie, he is really struggling, not only with getting older and not being as formidable a gunman, but also with his inner demons.
Right.
And that's not something that you would see in a 60s Western at all.
That makes complete sense. I mean, I like it. I just wonder, is that still a Western according to this narrow definition? Right? At what point? It's like Star Wars, right? Is Star Wars a science fiction movie? Well, it's like the setting is science fiction and stuff, right? But the story's core is a different one.
Okay.
And
Then-
with the Clint Eastwood movie, I would, just to get that definition laser sharp, right? I would wager, okay, it's a sort of faded, struggling hero story in a Western setting.
Yes.
Would that be palatable to you?
So why is it not a Western?
Oh, because I'm trying to establish this for no reason at all. Am
No,
I
it's-
trying to establish this definition of
Yeah.
a Western is in its core a protagonist imposing order on a lawless land?
Yeah, and I think
That still happens in the Clint Eastwood
that
movie?
surprisingly still happens.
Yeah, okay, I take it back. Then it's by definition a Western, Vincent.
Yeah. And okay, there's actually, now that I think about it, there is even more Western genres, because there's also the neo-Western.
Oh, okay. Like, I have a whole thing. I wasn't going to bring this up because we'll be sitting here. Okay. Did you know that today I thought, oh man, we have nothing to talk about. And now we're here.
Yeah.
But like, okay, because we're doing this now. All right. For everyone who's still with us. So I can't quite reconstruct this now. That's why I wasn't going to bring it up. But maybe with the neo-Western, we can sort of connect these two things, because in addition to the Western, there is a sort of taxonomy or categorization of Western-like stories, where you say, okay, there's the Western, but then there's also the Eastern. Do you know what I mean? And that would be then, I believe the structure would be more of, Eastern martial arts stories, right? Like those martial arts movies. I can't think of one now. Maybe Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon or whatever, Would you agree that the core of the narrative is often not a hero imposes Western on a lawless land, but rather, I don't know, there's an already established lawful society, but within it is a corrupted element that has to be rectified? Am I completely wrong? I haven't watched that many martial arts movies.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
I'm going through the ones
Yeah,
that I've watched, which again, I haven't watched that many, and the ones that I've watched, it has been quite some time. The ones I'm thinking about are Fearless with Jet Li, which is about a character, a martial arts hero who is very arrogant and selfish and terrible with money. And he then had this moment where basically everybody abandons him, and then he has to find himself and go to like some distant village and find himself, and then he comes back better.
Okay.
And that is more about his own journey to self-enlightenment, maybe?
Like the Clint Eastwood movie, a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. And I can't really recall how it ends. Damn it.
Yeah, here's the reason why I didn't want to bring this up, because I can't actually feed this taxonomy with like nice examples, right? Because then obviously you would also have to establish the northern and the southern as genres, and then you have this nice semiotic square where they're like structural inversions of each other, and that's a fun task to work on and write an essay about, I guess.
Huh. Okay, I did. The other one I thought of was Hero. Which is
that's a cool Chinese movie, right?
Yes,
I remember watching that.
From 2002, where
what the fuck was that movie about? I have completely forgotten.
I think the point was that there was a group of characters, a group of martial arts heroes who believe that the emperor has to die.
Ah, yeah, okay.
And they basically, it's a. Jet Li is the youngest of the group, and he fights the other ones because they are wanted by the emperor. And by fighting them and slaying them, I don't know if he actually kills them or just beats them, he gets an audience with the emperor. And then for every additional one he bested, he gets closer to him until he's basically like right in front of him, and then he can attack him.
Hey, that's the plot of Equilibrium. I just realized.
Is it?
Kind of?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Because he has to, like, at least his whole thing in Equilibrium is, like, to get close to the father or whatever.
Yeah.
And the society is corrupt. And there's this whole group of people who try to bring it down. And he has to meet Jürgen and stuff. I'm sorry we're, like, bringing up all these random movies now and not explaining. But Equilibrium is a very cool, stylish movie about a society that suppresses all emotion.
Yes.
Right.
Sean Bean and what's his name?
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale.
Yeah. And it's awesome choreography for fighting and stuff.
Yes.
Really cool. Similar to Hero, by the way. And now I have to make a revision to my definition of the Eastern. I guess that is not, the Eastern is not a lawless land where a hero imposes order. It is a corrupted order where the hero has to destroy it and bring it down. Right?
Maybe?
Maybe, yeah. Who the fuck knows? But like, the way you described Hero, it sounded like that.
Yeah, I don't act. I mean, I probably watched it in 2003 or 4, so I don't really know.
No,
anymore.
I know. I just remember really cool aesthetic scenes from that movie. Like, spoilers, the girl, like, ripping out a throwing knife out of her belly to save the guy because she then throws it at the evil dude. I don't know, just stuff. That's all I have. That was kind of dope to watch. I don't know.
Also, now I'm thinking of the man. I keep having flashes of Asian martial arts movies, but it's just flashes. It's not the whole movie.
Yeah, the thing is
terrible.
I watched that stuff when I was a wee little boy, and I've seen that stuff. I know, but back then I did not pay attention to the plot or really anything, not even the names or whatever I was even watching. And certainly I would have not been able to sort of categorize it in the Western Eastern taxonomy. So I'm useless, is what I'm saying. But okay, let's get just. I sort of derailed the conversation yet again. Vincent, what is a neo-Western? Because you brought that up, and then I came with the Eastern and stuff.
Yes.
Maybe we can at least get that right.
Well, that's difficult to answer for me
Nice.
because the only one that I know is hell or high. That's not how you spell high. Water. Is that how you spell high water? Yes, it is. Nice. Which is yes, it's a neo-Western. I was correct.
But why is that a neo-Western and stuff like Firefly is not a neo-Western?
That is a good question.
I mean, go ahead with your definition of neo-Western.
I even that is difficult to say because again, I watched one that I could classify as a neo-Western.
Right.
I can tell you that it doesn't happen in 1880 or something. It happens now, so it's current.
Sure.
It still has a lot of aspects of the Western.
Yeah.
For example, the two gunslingers that are not really heroes, more like anti-heroes. They do a good thing, but by doing something bad. There's a lawman that chases them, basically.
But it's it's contemporary. It's in the current world.
Yes.
But so they just go to like a small town America, and the sheriff ends up chasing them, or
I mean, the plot of the movie is that these two characters, two brothers, have to make money for, I think, to protect the land that their mother owned, and they plan to give it off to their cousin or something. And they're trying to rob banks to get the necessary money to keep the land to then
All
give
right.
it off. And because they don't just rob one bank, but multiple, they get chased by, what is it, like a Texas Ranger?
sure, those exist.
Something like
that. Walker, Texas Ranger.
Yes, exactly. It's not Walker, but it's one of the other ones.
Right. I believe there's more than just him.
Yeah, John
Yeah.
or something. I don't
Sure.
know. Yeah, but that's
But not a Western according to my definition, Vincent. It's a heist movie. Sounds like a heist movie. Which is
yeah.
a splendid thing to be.
the thing is, it's not really focused on the robberies.
Okay.
So where
It's not like Ocean's 11.
exactly
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
what I was about to mention. Where it's all about what is the plan, how do they set up, how do they execute. Here, the robberies are really they run in, shoot twice in the air,
Right.
scream at people, grab the money, run out.
Okay, but
And
then
it's a small part of the movie.
But then why is A Place Beyond the Pines not a Western? Or is it?
It's a good question.
Do you know what I mean? Because that also has like heists very centrally in it. But it's clearly not about that. It's exactly what you just described basically
Yeah.
happens in Place Beyond the Pines. Which is,
Yeah.
by the way, a totally weird movie with a strange structure. It doesn't fit any of my definitions.
I think the main problem with A Place Beyond the Pines is that nobody wears a cowboy hat.
Yes. Yeah, I get it. And they do that in Hell or High
Oh
Water.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mentioned that because in the poster that's here, there's Jeff Bridges, who is the ranger.
Oh, that's cool.
In the background with a hat and sunglasses, and it looks very cool.
I love Jeff Bridges.
Yeah, me too. Who doesn't?
I have one last hot take on the Western topic, Vincent.
Yeah. What is it?
Deadwood, not a Western. Bam, I said it. Mic drop. which I can't because it's fixed. But
Yeah, that's
no,
okay.
but do you know what I mean? Not according to my definition. By the way, Deadwood, a show that I absolutely adore and love. Watched it multiple times. It's great. Depicts sort of the sort of very organic, interconnected being of a town on the western frontier, right? Would you've seen it as well, right?
Yeah, I
Oh.
did not watch the movie, but the 3
Yeah.
seasons I did watch.
I didn't see the movie either. I guess I still have that on my bucket list. Something to look forward to.
Yeah, it's apparently good.
I believe it. And it's just all the acting was stellar and so on. But that is definitely not about a lawless land where a hero has to establish order. Although they play with that trope.
Isn't that what I mean, if you think about the city as the hero, isn't that kind of what it does? To impose order on basically the western area?
Okay, so I agree with you, and I encourage this way of thinking about that show, that the town itself is a character, right? I totally agree with that. And to think about, does the town impose order on the lawless land? I find that difficult to answer because it's already such a big metaphor to say a town is a person. My intuition would say, no, I don't get that sense of it. But I might be wrong. I would have to watch it again with that in mind. I don't know. It's just from my memory, I feel like the way it ends too, George Hurst comes, this whole capitalism, gold digging angle and stuff. At least I don't feel like the town succeeds in imposing order.
Yeah, no, I agree, kind of. I'm thinking, specifically about the 3rd season. Well, I mean, that is sort of the struggle, but yeah, I don't see it.
But there, just to make that point, because I think it's important, like the show is quite aware of this whole Western trope and the hero that imposes order, and they have that in there. It's Bullock, like you can't say he's the main character, but he's one of the main people in the cast, I would say, and he is the sheriff of the town, and he is ostensibly the guy to impose order and stuff, but he doesn't, he's not able to do that on his own, at least. And he's also a very ambiguous character. The whole show starts with him having to hang a guy who would otherwise be lynched because he stole some horses. And it's like, it's so good, really, because it immediately communicates to you what this show is and what it isn't. Because what then, Bullock has to make this impossible choice of like, either hanging the guy himself or giving him to the mob. There's no good option. There's no like actual lawful option. Or let's say, it is lawful what Bullock does, but it's not good. It's not ethical.
Yes.
And so he basically has to hang the guy, and they do it sort of haphazardly. He doesn't even have enough rope, and so he like physically himself hangs onto the guy to help him die faster. And that's how the show starts. And then now you're in for a rough ride, and it's not going to be a clean, nice Western, right?
Yeah.
Because the guy who could fill that role of the cool protagonist is already morally ambiguous. And it's like, I don't know, everyone should watch that show. It's really good. I wish we would
I
get
agree.
something like that again.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe Fallout will be that. Who knows?
Maybe.
Just bring it back. But yeah, my point is Deadwood, not a Western, not according to my definition.
I do have one more question regarding westerns.
Yeah.
You watched Sicario.
I did. Another Dennis Falafel movie. I'm sorry. Denis Villeneuve. I always struggle with that name.
You can't do that, Marius.
I know. It's horrible. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But, but I'm not alone. I noticed, like, he, of course, also made Dune 2, which we recently watched and had a podcast about it. Go listen to it. Awesome movie. I adore this director. But I do notice I'm not the only one struggling with the name, because if you go on Reddit, on the Dune Reddit, people talk about the new Dune movies and stuff. They never write out his name. They just all write DV. It's just universally referred to as DV.
Is it like Benedict Cumberbumble?
Oh, is that a thing? I mean,
Yeah, his name is if you get the rhythm right and like the first letter, it works.
yeah, but Benedict Cumberbatch, I feel like you don't need to make that name funnier. It's already funny on its own.
But that's
Denis Villeneuve is just hard to say and remember. Then, But I'm sorry, I again derailed with my nonsense.
Well,
you were saying about Sicario.
yes. So I was still on the Hell or High Water Wikipedia page, and at the end of the intro, it says the film is the second installment of writer Taylor Sheridan's American Frontier trilogy, along with Sicario and Wind River.
Oh, wow, I haven't. Yeah, Hell or High Water and Wind River. I don't know. I have seen Sicario, which I liked.
And I was just thinking, because it doesn't really have any. It doesn't feel like a Western.
No, and according to my definition, it's not a Western.
No. I was just wondering because, American Frontier, and
absolutely.
Same writer.
And I feel like it also at least slightly sort of refers to that trope of the Western hero. But then it also, right, it's, to use this wonderful word, it deconstructs it, right? Because it's like, or it's like a total anti-hero. I don't know. But you know what I mean? The, I guess both the main character and the, what's his name?
Who are you talking about?
Well, the other main character, like, what? I'm just can't remember the actor's name.
There's Emily Blunt, who is the main character.
And the other guy?
That's Benicio del Toro.
Yes, thank you. I couldn't for the life of me remember that name. Yeah, Benicio del Toro. He's the sort of anti-hero, I guess. He doesn't do very moral things, but you kind of still cheer for him in a way. It's
because
just
he knows how to get shit done, right?
He does, yeah. But it's a messy movie, man.
Yes,
it is.
Definitely.
But just it's a good movie. I don't know. Good but messy.
Yeah. Also, there's a second one apparently.
Sicario 2?
Yeah.
Oh,
directed by Stefano Sollima.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I like Sicario, but not enough to follow the franchise, I guess.
Yeah.
It was sort of done after after I watched it.
It's sort of, yeah.
It made its point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess go watch Fallout if you like westerns.
Yeah.
That's the takeaway. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the A Dungeon About podcast. We record live usually every Thursday at 4 p.m. Central European Time on Twitch, twitch.tv/HeMakesMePlay_live. You can also watch some of our Let's Plays and other videos we create on the HeMakesMePlay YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/@HeMakesMePlay. And you can also follow us on Twitter @makes_play. Thanks everyone. See you next time.